Hello, everyone. Oops. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our little corner of the internet where we speak about fountain pens, inks, journals, and journaling, and just about everything and anything that's going to keep you inspired. That's my job. I'm the inspirer in chief. Keep you guys journaling, keep you guys positive, and keep you inspired. So, super happy to be here tonight. Should be really interesting show. I want to talk about this evening a couple of things. One, I guess the biggest thing I want to talk about is when I quit fountain pens and why, and what that did, and why I'm thinking about that again. And I think it's a really interesting story because it's something that happened around 8 years ago or so. And I just kind of want to relate it to you, and I want to tie it into some of the feelings I've been having lately in regard to fountain pens and why. And I think you guys are going to find it really, really interesting because it's part of the journey. And this whole entire channel has been about a journey, right? You start in one place, you end up in another, you explore, you go down little tributaries that are, blind alleys and whatnot. You find your way back onto the path and you learn while you do. And I think there's always new perspectives to be learned as we move along in this amazing journey. So I'm going to speak about why I quit fountain pens and why I've been thinking about that again, kind of like intrusive thoughts lately. And I'm going to bring you guys up to date on that and what I'm thinking about. So we're going to talk about that in a bit, but we're also going to talk about some of the shenanigans I've been up to with some people some of the other creators out there, and some of the fun, interesting stuff that's going on. So we're going to touch base on that. And what else are we going to do? We're going to have Wolf Kate Witch on the show. Wolf Kate Witch, one of my most ardent supporters, just a lovely person who also lives in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So that should be super fun. She'll be joining us at the end of the show, and she's going to speak about her 3 favorite fountain pens. So that's super fun. I can't wait to hear it. So the main story, though, which I know a lot of you guys are waiting for, and I'm going to say it again because I see a lot more people are joining us as the hour progresses. Why I quit fountain pens. Why did I quit fountain pens? And why am I thinking of it again? That's the big story tonight. And I'm going to tell you. And I'm also going to tell you how I found my way back and sort of what guardrails are in place right now. But first I want to say hello to everyone. I see all the usual suspects are in the chat. Hello everyone. I see John Manuel, Kirk Geisinger, the author and the legend. I see Debbie. Hello Debbie. Oh, and Claire Coco, how are you? Claire is recovering, and we hope that Claire is feeling better. She probably has her leg propped up right now. Hope you're doing well. So, let's see. Fritz is here. Fritz, it's been a while. Where you been, buddy? Nice to see you. Miss Marilyn, darling, always a pleasure. Been watching your penmanship, and I like it. So, very good. So, great to see everyone. Puppet Access, too. Lots of lovely people. Thanks for all the likes, guys. I see the little thumbs flying up. That's always good to feed the YouTube algorithm, because YouTube does not support small channels. We are so niche. We are the niche of the niche, because there's fountain pens, and that's pretty niche. I mean, if you look, there's like 2 or 3 accounts that really just dominate the space, and then there's a lot of other smaller creators, right? And then when you think of like some of the big companies out there that produce pens, like Retro 51, I asked, like, what percentage of your pen sales are fountain pens? 8%. 8%, Jeff said. So imagine that. And we are sort of the poets here, aren't we? I feel like this community, we are the poets. We're the creators, we're the dreamers of dreams. So that's what I think of you guys. Claire has another week on bed rest. Well, we hope you feel better. So, lots of good stuff. I see the likes flying up. Thank you. All right, I guess we'll get into the big story. Although first, I love to drag things out. I'm so naughty. But I will have to ask you guys, if you've been watching the channel, please subscribe. I'd appreciate having you on this journey with us. And I'll do my best to produce interesting videos for you guys. Stuff that's entertaining, that makes you think, that maybe gives you a new perspective on fountain pens and inks and journals and makes you look at things a little differently. That's my goal. Puppet Access says the Dead Pen Society. Certainly for us with vintage fountain pens. Speaking of which, my beloved Watchman 52.5, a pen very famous on this channel. A pen that I call a flex monster. It's a flex monster. We're going to do a video coming up called Flex Monsters. It's probably going to be in the new year. I'm going to talk about that too, because it looks like the autumn season is over. Looks like it's all scheduled. And all these new ideas, I'm either going to put them out in the same week. We're going to sort of bunch up, which is going to be weird for me, because I'm hyper creative lately. I'm actually more creative than I have time for, because I have a day job too, which keeps me very busy. And then I come home at night and I do this and I think about this and write too on the weekends and whatnot. So, but I have so many ideas, but I'm thinking of it as an autumn season, and then there's going to be a winter season, and Flex Monsters is going to be, I think, in the winter season, because my 52.5 died. And it doesn't make for a very good dip pen. The Ideal number 2 Flex Nib, it just doesn't hold a lot of ink when you dip it. You get a few words and it's just not that great. So it just won't fill anymore. It never filled much to begin with, and it fills much less now. It just basically doesn't even make any noise. Nothing happens. But fortunately, and I won't mention their name because I don't have permission to, one of my viewers, who's just a lovely guy and a member of the channel, has said that they'd fix it for me. So it's off. It's on its way. It's on its way to being fixed. So I'm super excited about that. I need to get my 52.5 back so I can make my Flex Monster video. I also want to show you which pens I'm using, because it's always fun, right, to know which pens are on hand. And then I promise I'll get into why I quit fountain pens. And I'll tell the story about how I found my way back. Laddie. Laddie says, oh, super chat from Lad Gardner. Thank you so much, my friend. $25 from the Ladster, the mighty Laddie. I have a letter on its way to you, my friend. I have about 6 letters that are out to you guys, but one specifically for Laddie. So thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. You've been a fantastic support for the channel. And thank you, everyone, for the super chats. It helps. Keeps the lights on. Keeps this light on. Keeps the channel paid for, which is good. We need the channel to be self-sustaining. That's the goal, so that I don't have to put money in, which I do, obviously, because it's fun. But, wouldn't it be nice if the channel was self-sustaining? So that's the goal. That is the goal. So, pen check. Always have the Egyptomania handy. And I have it in the lovely case that Terry Edginton sent me. So this is always handy. What I've been writing with most is the Omas Ogiva, which means like missile or warhead in Italian. I speak a little Italian. I didn't know that. But this Omas pen is so fluid, so wet, such a smooth writer. I'm really digging it. Frank Zhang sent it to me, so I want you guys to know it was a gift. So if that colors what I say, I think that's legitimate. If you say, hey, you got it for free, so no wonder you like it, that's legitimate. Weigh it that way. But I would tell you, if I hated it, I'd let you know. And I was really pleasantly surprised. So one thing I don't like, it looks like it should post, and it just kind of doesn't. Just kind of doesn't post. Now, I haven't been posting my pens lately anyway, but it's a little on the short side. A little bit. But it fits. It fits in that spot. Kind of goes over. So I'm okay with it. And I love how smooth it is. That very wet ebonite feed. So I've been using this. And you never just have one pen, right? So I also have the Aurora Optima. Also with an ebonite feed and a piston fill. This is an elegant little pen. I do post this one. I post this one, guys. Ooh, can you see? I wish you could see this. The light from my O-ring is shining through the ink window. There's an ink window here. It might be hard for you to differentiate, but trust me, it's between these two gold bands. And it would be clear if this pen were empty, but it has Gerabon Eclat de Saphir in it. And it looks like a sapphire. It's just glistening like a jewel from my perspective. Probably not from yours. But anyway, I do post this one because it just feels too small. It's just a couple millimeters smaller than the Ogiva. And it posts perfectly. Like this one is made to be posted. So very elegant pen from a much more civilized age. So I quite like this one. Very nice pen. And then lastly, I have the Retro 51 William Morris Blackthorn fountain pen with a stub nib, Yovo stub nib on these. Beautiful pen done in, I guess, a collaboration between Retro 51 and the Met. I don't know if you can make that out. You could if you're watching me on television. This channel is made to be watched on television, not so much on your phone. But I looked up the statistic, and only 10% of you watch on television. Isn't that interesting? Because I watch YouTube on television. But according to YouTube, 10% of you watch on television. So, I see Benjo's here. Very good. Nice to see Benjo. With the Esterbrook Nouveau. Este Nouveau. That's a good one. Matter of fact, here's an interesting thing, guys. I'm drinking a lot of water. I'm gonna share this with you. I'm gonna get very personal and share something with you before I tell my story about why I quit fountain pens. I'm getting chubby. I need to lose some weight. I really do. I don't know how it happened, and I'm starting to feel it because my work clothes are the same size they've always been, and the pants are getting challenging. So I do get carried away sometimes. I just I can eat a lot of like cheesesteaks and things. It's also kind of Oktoberfest, so there's a lot of bratwurst around, and you get this German boy around bratwurst. It's just not good, and I'm feeling it. I looked at my latest B-roll, and I look a little doughy. But it's not the end of the world. I can accept myself whatever size I am. But my motivation is that my clothes don't fit very well, and I don't want to buy new clothes. I have nice clothes. I just don't want to grow out of them. So that's my motivation. So I'm going to be drinking a lot of water, and I'm going to be eating fewer carbs. Fat's okay. It's carbs. That's what does it for me, my body chemistry. So I'm sharing that with you. Maybe you'll see a progression in my B-roll. But remember, I post 2 months ahead. So, all right. Now, before I get into the whole discussion about the rest of the season, I want to talk about the main topic this evening. And that is why I quit fountain pens. Because I did. I quit them completely. very briefly. And this was around 8 years ago. But some of those same issues are coming up. And what it is it's around, maybe it was even longer than 8 years ago, but I was certainly married to Helen, of course. And what happened was that the fountain pens just started to feel and seem like overly fiddly, and not in a good way. We all love fountain pens because they're fun to take apart, to clean, to fill, to choose different inks, to choose different nibs, to just have this really hands-on, customizable experience. That's part of the beauty of this hobby, and what makes it so fantastic is that interaction with the item, that it's not a static thing. In some collecting, you buy something very static and you put it in a box. With fountain pens, you're choosing inks for them. You're talking about them. You have different nib sizes. So there's a lot of really fun things that go along with it. But when you start to put out big money for pens and they have QC issues, it can start to get really frustrating. And when you're someone like me who interacts with a lot of pens, both ones that I buy because I'm passionate about this hobby and fountain pens and journaling. Like, journaling is really the core of why I do this. I love fountain pens. I feel like my writing floats with the fountain pen. But sometimes I get pens that should float and instead feel like I'm trudging through mud. Or something else happens. They burp up ink, or they don't fill properly, or they're not cleaning properly, or something else that just really brings me down, distracts me from the task at hand, which for me is journaling and writing and expressing myself. And I am enjoying it on many levels while I write. I am thinking while I write of whatever it is that I'm writing, of course. But there's also this sort of deep subcurrent of inner monologue that's sort of aware of what I'm doing and commenting on it, saying things like, wow, that is a beautiful word you just made. This pen is so smooth. It's so lovely. Look at the gold glistening off the trim. Wow, it looks amazing in the sunlight. Whatever it is, there's this sort of dialogue between two different strata layers of my own self-consciousness, which is probably a good play on words there. And when a pen doesn't perform properly, it takes me out. It takes me out of everything. It takes me out of the room, literally. And I'm going to give you specific examples. Thanks for the likes, guys. I see the likes hitting up, and that's always good. I appreciate the attention, and it makes the YouTube algorithm people happy. So thank you. So what happens is I just get thrown out of the stream. Like I'm traveling at warp drive, and I just get thrown out and I'm spinning around in space hapless. And my mind works such that if I don't reboot, I have a hard time reconnecting with myself and getting back to where I was. And these issues, I hesitate sometimes to make too big a deal out of, because I feel like as someone who makes videos, I have slightly more of a disproportionate voice on things just because people see what I make. But at the same time, it's incumbent upon me to be wholly honest about things. So you kind of have to weigh. because I think sometimes there are loud voices in any community that set a tone for a certain pen or watch or whatever it is, and people tend to pick up narratives that are out there. So you have a certain responsibility to make sure you're just being as accurate as you can be, but you can always express your feelings, as I'm doing now. So we're going to talk about what's triggering it now. Now I'm going back in times to when I actually quit fountain pens. So I mentioned some of this before, where I gave away almost all of my pens. And what had happened is I built up a pretty good collection. And I don't know how many pens I had in those days. I didn't really write them down. But if I had to guess, I would say I probably had somewhere in the area of 40 to 50 pens. And I kept getting disappointed by them. And they were specific pens like the Conklin Mark Twain. I had that pen and it was really pretty, and it was always a false starter. It just would never write when I set it to paper. And it just annoyed me so much. I had to just, censor myself from losing my monetization on this video. But it's just so disappointing. You get a pen like that and you go to write with it. It was so beautiful. It's such a pretty pen. And real nice pen. Another one was my cross apogee. My cross apogee would leak ink just randomly. I'd take the cap off and there'd be drops of ink just randomly distributed throughout the cap. And, a drop of ink goes really far. You could do a lot of writing with a drop of ink. I don't have to tell you. You guys know. You get it on your hands, it goes really far. And it's very unpleasant. So there was that. There was my Carine, which I broke and I ended up sending back to France, and they were nice enough to fix for me. And a couple of other pens that were just so disappointing. And I just decided I just had enough of this. I'm tired of the feeling of putting money out and being so excited for something to come in and waiting for it. In those days, it was much longer than we wait for things now. If I ordered it online or if I went to one of the pen shops, because in those days there were pen shops. And I used to shop at Paradise Pen, which is long gone. It was always very expensive, but it was there. And then there is also the old Bromfield pen was there, and Levenger, and then Bob Slate had like 3 locations here in Boston. They're down to 1. I think they had 3. Maybe they had 2. I know there was one in Porter Square. But in any case, you would buy it and you would just be so excited, take it home, unbox it, start writing with it, and it's just a dud, or you find out days later. So I quit. I was like, I had enough of this. And I decided I was going to go to rollerballs. And I thought, rollerballs are a pretty good compromise between a fountain pen and a ballpoint. And I'm pretty sure that's what they were designed for. But it's certainly something like that. It's like a smooth writing experience, but truth be told, rollerballs have their own problems. So we can talk a bit about that in a second too. But I just thought I'll get a rollerball and I'll put it in a nice case, because the funny thing about rollerballs, they're all the same. You can spend $1,000 for a rollerball pen, but the actual heart of it that does the writing is probably a Pilot, rollerball gel. Was it G2? I think insert there, or some version of it. They're all the same. So no matter how expensive the pen is, the insert is $2. So you're writing with a $2 pen regardless. But that's what I did. I bought a Waterman. I think it was, I'm saying the Expert, but I feel like I bought that later. But it was some kind of Waterman pen, because I've always been fond of Waterman. Waterman was my first fountain pen, and I really like the Phileas. I love the Corrine. I love the Charleston. So I've always had a good selection of Waterman. So when I went to get a rollerball, I went back to what my favorite brand was, which is Waterman. Threw in the Pilot insert, and there you have it. And I wrote with that for a while. Now, going back to my pen collection, thank you for the likes, guys. I see them piling up. I appreciate it. So I had given away the majority of my pens, but I kept my core pens. So I gave away like the Mark Twain. I gave away another Cross. I gave away a Pelican Blue Ocean pen. Just kills me when I think about that. I gave away a Pelican Blue Ocean, and my attorney accidentally ran over it with his car. So I should have held on to that one, but it wasn't writing well. It was skipping and stopping. And I'm not a nibsmith guy. That's not my specialty. If I have to get too fiddly with stuff, I get averse toward using them. That's why I'm delighted that one of my viewers and a member decided to fix my beloved Waterman 52.5 for me. That was huge. Thank you. So, gave away all those pens. I'm going to tell you which ones I kept, because I think that's interesting, the ones I can remember. So, I had my Mont Blanc 149 then. I obviously kept that pen. I had my Waterman Charleston, my Cross Apogee, my Waterman Quran, my Schaefer Legacy with that awesome inlaid nib. Awesome inlaid nib. I need to break that out again. I love that pen. I also had my Cartier Diablo in the Chinese lacquer. Those pens are sort of my bastion, my final line of defense in pens. And I kept those, but I gave away quite a few pens. By the way, Wasky Squirrel. Hi, Jason. Just joining in. I was working at school until now. Nice to see you, and you give me a segue. I'm going to take a break from my story to tell everyone that Wasky Squirrel will be joining us here on the live next week. I believe it's the 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on this show to nerd out about fountain pens. I couldn't be more exciting. Excuse me. Actually, I couldn't be more exciting. Believe me. If I tried, it would be painful. I couldn't be more excited. I've been chasing Wasky for months. So I'm really glad I got him pinned down, and we're going to see him next week. So that'll be super fun. Okay, so back to my story. So being so heartbroken by all the problems with pens not starting, false starts, leaking, no fun to write with, muddy feeling, I decided to give them up entirely. And to bring some people up to speed, if you're just joining us, like Jason. So this was around 8 years ago. I decided to quit fountain pens entirely. But here's the problem, and I think you guys know this. I switched over to rollerballs. And the rollerballs aren't much better. You would think they are, but they're really not. They do write well, but they have a lot of false starts. And they're not what they're advertised. You often get dud inserts that you end up tossing and then putting another one, and they just don't perform the way you expect and wish them to do. And there was no way I was going to write with a ballpoint. That is a bridge too far. I can't do it. There are rare occasions when I'm sort of forced to write with a ballpoint that it's just so hard, so strange. For one thing, those little plastic pens feel like rubber. They feel like noodles in your hand. There's no integrity to them in every sense of the word. And as I write my name, because it's usually when I'm signing something at work quickly, it's usually when I don't want to like be a jerk. If somebody hands me a piece of paper to sign it and it's got a ballpoint on it, you pick it up and you sign it. You know, you don't go, oh, hold on a minute, let me pull out my pen. You know, it's just not nice. It's just not cool. So I do that, but then it always feels bendy in my fingers, and it's really, really difficult. So, alas, there I was, not very pleased with the rollerballs either. Once again, kind of letting me down. But it's also that whole thing where you miss it, and you miss the experience. And I think I only lasted with like a rollerball a couple of weeks. And what ended up happening, and I'm going to tell this story in a video, winter, about when I only used one pen. Unless I tell it in a live. I don't know. I'm going to tell it sometime. But let's talk about it now a little bit. I used the Mont Blanc 149. I filled it with Mont Blanc Royal Blue, and I used that pen, and pretty much only that pen, for around, I'm trying to be accurate, I'd say 4 years with that ink. And I kept that ink in, that pen was in there for probably 10 years. I had bought the pen, I put royal blue in it. I never changed it into any other color until around 2 years ago when I went crazy and I put Yamabudo in there, which was a lot of fun. I have a Clay de Saphir in it now, so I'm getting a little bit more adventurous. But it's just such a reliable pen, the 149, and I was tired of all the nonsense of my other pens. So I went purely for the 149 because it's never going to let me down. It's not going to run around or desert me. Yeah, it's never going to make me cry. It's never going to tell a lie. All right, sorry. I got off on a tangent there, but truly, it is a good guy pen. It does what it's supposed to do. And of course, I have so much emotional attachment to that pen because Helen bought it for me. And she's amazing, as you guys know. And if you don't, you will when you see Cool or Not Cool Volume 2 coming up in November. So that's what happened. I was so tired of pens malfunctioning, pens being overly troublesome. I switched to rollerball briefly, didn't enjoy it, didn't work out for me. Went back to Mont Blanc 149, pretty much wrote with that for 4 years. So I mentioned why I'm thinking that way again. And the reason is I've been having some issues with some pens. Not on the same scale, but still. And I'm going to mention one that I love. This pen. And I don't know how much it's this pen or if it's a QC issue with Aurora. I don't know. I don't have enough data. I only know this pen. Everything on my channel is about a pen. One of a type. It's why I'm tempted a lot to use platonic language, because this is the only expression of this pen that I have. I know there are many more that are reflecting some perfect Aurora pen out there, but this one is mine. So, what was the issue with this? It felt kind of muddy. It felt like it wasn't as smooth as an ebonite feed and a gold nib would normally feel. Now, I do know a few tricks, and I am loath to share them, but I do know a few tricks. And I will say that I did do one of my tricks that is to make pens write more wet. And this one would do a funny thing. It would just close back up. And there was a problem, and you could see the problem. Now, there's times when you can't see the problem. This pen, I could see the problem. Now, also, keep in mind, I could have just returned it or whatever, but I'm weird. I sort of feel about pens the way I feel about adopting animals. It's mine. It's my problem. I need to fix it and get it to a good situation. I couldn't rehome some cat I adopted either. And I feel that way about my pens now. I guess I can give them to my attorney who can run over them with cars, though. So let's make that abundantly clear. But you have to be aware of your own contradictions, ladies and gentlemen. You definitely do, because we all have them. But so this pen, and you guys know that one of my everyday carry items, matter of fact, I have two within reaching distance, is my loop and my other loop. So I put it under the loop, and the tines on the nib were so close together, there was just no room for ink traveling down it. So I didn't want to mess with it, but I was inspired by one of you, a very special viewer who doesn't care about these kind of things, who would take a pen like this, throw pliers on it, and tear the nib off and put another one on if they felt like it. And I'm speaking about the legendary Laddie Gardner. And Laddie just pulls nibs off willy-nilly. I love the guy for it. And I decided, you know what? I'm just going to have a little fun myself. And I did the fingernail trick. Now, I'm going to assume that you know what the fingernail trick is. If you don't, you can contact me offline. I don't like to promote self fixes because you can really mess stuff up. But I didn't. I fixed it and it's perfect now. But it felt a little, I'd say, discouraging at first. At first it felt like, because I love this. Can I just tell you I love this? Like, I love the colors. I think it's really obnoxious. You have to hear what my wife says about this in Cool or Not Cool Volume 2. Spot on what she says. And I agree with all that. But I love it. I love it so much. I love this pen. I didn't want to part with it. It's elegant. It's over the top. It's slightly obnoxious. It's a lot like me. And that's why I couldn't let it go. So I did fix it. And I feel like now it's very special to me because we've been through something together. Similar to my Mont Blanc 146 with the calligraphy nib, which I hated when I first got. Then I misunderstood it. Then I respected it, but didn't want it around me. Then I started to use it on my handwriting project. You know that. Now I love it. Now it's one of my Flex Monsters, which is going to be in my Flex Monster video coming out in January. So stay tuned for that. Might be sooner, but probably January. So I fixed it, and now I feel very close to it. But it's starting to remind me of why I only used one fountain pen. So the question would be, if I were taking this 100 or so pen collection I have now and choosing the one that would last me 4 years, which one would that be? Which one would be the one that's completely reliable out of all of them that I wouldn't have to worry about? And that's different from my favorite. You guys might or may not know my favorite fountain pen right now is my Mont Blanc Egyptomania. It's right here. This nice little case that Terry Edginton gave me. So nice. This is my favorite. But that's not the pen I would use for the next 4 years. Shocking. Shocking, I know. But we like to make shocking headlines here. So instead, I would use the Mont Blanc 149 again. That's the one I would go to. I would use that one, and it would get me through anytime I needed. Ooh, Kurt with a super chat. Thank you very much. Kurt Geisinger, the author, the man, the myth. Thank you so much. For pliers for the Aurora. Thank you very much. I probably should have some tools, but I did successfully use my fingernail. And I don't know. Do you know this about me, that I really have no fingernails? But here's the evidence. Do you see that? That's the evidence of what I did. Okay? Use your imagination. And I don't have fingernails because I'm obsessive about my fingernails. I clip them. I always have nail clippers around me. And these are my Swiss Army nail clippers. So they're absolutely handy, sleek. I have a pair here and I have a pair in my bag for work. So I'm a little obsessive about my hair and my nails. Always groomed. So, but there you go. That's what I did. And I brought it back. So that's why I quit fountain pens. It's why I then found how I found my way back. Which pen got me through for like 4 years, the Montblanc 149. And kind of those feelings coming back again because a pen I just bought, you guys know what I went through to buy that pen. It was an obsessive couple months. You had to listen to it. And then it let me down. So that is the story. That is something. And I'm going to do a full review of that. And I'm sure I'll mention all of that in the review. But how much you want to say it's all Auroras, that's on you. I can only say it's mine. I really like the pen. I would buy another one. I just had a bit of an issue with this one. And it brought back some feelings. So we got Wolf Kate Witch is coming on in a couple minutes, which I'm really excited about. But I do want to talk about one more thing before we bring her on. And that is that we are almost done for this autumn. And by that I mean I have videos posted for every week up to Thanksgiving. And then there's really December 1st, and then there'll be a couple others, and then we take our holiday break. So it's kind of interesting. We're sort of doing seasons now. And I think the autumn season is probably the strongest season that this channel has ever done. And I'm going to prove that on Thursday, because I'm posting a video on Thursday at noon that is a Dark Academia video that I guarantee you guys are going to love. It's Dark Academia at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. I cover the art heist, I cover the history of the museum, I cover Mrs. Gardner, and I cover the handwriting there and how to take historical handwriting to make your handwriting better. So it's called Dark Academia Applied, basically. I changed the name. It's called Dark Academia in Action. And I think you're going to love it. I'm so proud of it. It's a really pretty video. The Gardner Museum is gorgeous. So I think you guys will really appreciate that. So that comes out this Thursday at noon. I did a little survey to see if you wanted videos on Friday or Thursday. I decided to post it on Thursday. I might go to Friday at some point, but, there you have it. Thursday. So what's after the Gardner? Next week is the long-awaited for review of the Lamy 2000. How great is that? And it's called something along the lines of an honest review of the Lamy 2000 from someone who hated it. So that's an honest truthism. So that is fun. Oh, you know what? I'm in the wrong area. I'm looking, where is the actual title? And I couldn't find it, but here it is. It's called The Shocking Truth of the Lamy 2000 from Someone Who Hated It. So that should be fun. That's coming up. Oh, and then How to Travel with Fountain Pen. So some really good stuff. But we have Wolf Kate Witch joining us. And we should probably let her in. Let's see what happens. Anything can happen, ladies and gentlemen. This is a live show. The suspense is killing me. I hope it will last. Kate.
Yay, am I on?
You are on. You are live and loud.
Awesome.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So I'm trying to rearrange my room right now. As you can see, it's a little bit of a mess. But Yeah, I couldn't do three pens. I'm sorry, Hemingway. So yeah, you were talking about rollerballs,
I
and
was.
so my rollerball of really kind of collecting pens in general is this lovely pen, and I know that I've talked about this pen before on the channel.
Sure.
This is my Cross Townsend. This is
Cross
a
Townsends are
lapis
lovely.
lazuli, and this is the lapis lazuli. This is has gold flake in it, and this was a rollerball. It started life out as a rollerball. For the first 10 years of its life, it was a happy little rollerball. And I decided one day that it was going to be a rollerball no more. And it became a happy little fountain pen.
Very nice. Did a little mod.
And yeah, so this was kind of my first mod that I ever did to. Well, I can't say it's the first mod that I ever did. This was my first mod to a very expensive to me at the time pen,
Sure.
because even at that point, the Cross Townsend Lapis Lazuli was up there in price. It was like a $200 pen, and then you had to buy the fountain pen nib. At the time, I really got a good
Mm,
deal on the nib itself. It was like a $200, no, $150 replacement nib. Now you
sure.
can't find them for less than 200.
And
So it
everyone
was
owns a
kind of a
cross pen in New England, right, Kate? Like, is there anybody who
yeah.
didn't get one for their bar mitzvah or the Christmas or graduation? And sometimes in those two pen sets, like, you remember those?
Yeah, when I was in middle school, there was a stationery store right around the corner of my middle school, and I used to go in there after school, and I got a small allowance between my mother and my grandmother, and it was like 16 or $17 for the cross century. And I noticed that they're coming
Nice.
out with a reproduction model of one of
Hmm.
those, and I'm tempted to get one for
Nostalgia.
nostalgia. And it was a ballpoint edition, so I ended up saving up my pennies for that one. It took me like 3 months to save up $17 to get one out of
Wow.
my allowance, but I
So your love
did
of
get it.
pens started early.
It did. And while I was in college, my first fountain pen was a cross, well, no, Pilot Varsity, and
Oh,
I
very
loved
nice.
them because it
I
was
started with those too.
the first, yeah, the first pen that had colors. I was a
Did
color
did
girl.
did it have colors? Because
I love.
when it was only black and blue when I had it. Did they have different ink colors or?
Yeah, so when I checked out at the checkout, they had like it in blue, black, green, and purple.
Oh, very nice.
So I snagged the green and the purple. I wasn't much of a black person back then, so get the green and the purple, and I loved it. I thought this was
Oh
great.
yeah, that's great. And I
Uh,
should tell people, Wolf Kate Witch has joined us. You see her in the chat. She's here live in person. You almost could have driven here and just sat next to me. I mean, you almost didn't have to because we actually live in
yeah, it
the
was
same state. Kate's one of the people I've actually met in person, so that's always fun.
yeah, at the Commonwealth Pen Show last year. I mean, that was so much fun. I think you and Aziza with Gourmet Pens.
Yes.
I met both of you.
Yep. We got a nice comment from Jason. He says, Wasky Squirrel, her talk of hunting stationery stores ring true for me. I bought my first pen at age 10, and I love stationery almost as much as books. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Boy, he
it's
started
like
young too. That's great.
so. I had a reading problem when I was a kid. I wasn't able to read until I was a lot older. The first book that I read from cover to cover was The Stand by Stephen King,
Wow,
and
that's a heck of a first book to take on.
I was 13 years old. I went to Broadway Stationery's that was right down the street from where I lived, and I saw the cover of the book, and I stood there at they had the spinning book rack, and I kept on trying to read the back of it, and the helpful lady behind the counter used to come up and help me read the back of it. She goes, I know you're trying to read the back of it, and she
Sure.
helped me with getting a dictionary. She gave me some discount off the dictionary, and um, it took me 3 months to read the whole book, The Stand. This
That's
was
awesome.
before
That's
the
an
the
accomplishment.
abridged
Any
version of
age.
it.
It's like 1,200 pages long. So
Yeah.
well done. So
Well,
one of
back
the
then it was
things.
like 850.
Oh yeah, that's well. I guess it depends if it's a paperback or not, right? So tell
Yeah.
me what what are your three favorite pens these days?
These are not necessarily my favorite pens, but these pens have been with me for a while. And the first one is not necessarily my favorite, but it's becoming my favorite for something that I just did. This is my Pilot Custom 823.
Very nice.
And the reason why this is fastly becoming one of my favorite pens is the mod that I just did to it.
Uh oh.
Yeah, I know, Hemingway, you're probably getting all antsy
I'm
about
very
this.
mod adverse, but hey, I did just pry the tines apart on my Aurora. So baby steps.
Yeah, this I had a 743 with a number 15 FA nib and flexible nib factory, three slit,
Oh, that looks
uh,
nice.
red tine, and now this just is a beautiful writer
Very
now.
nice.
Oh man, it just flexes. So Tom just I was like standing right here on the edge, and like Tom from Gold Spot like pushed me over the edge, and
Very
he
nice.
really wanted to
He
do
likes
that.
different nibs and unique pens. He certainly does. He certainly does. And I should tell everyone, Wolf Kate Witch is one of the members of this channel, and if you become a member, you have a chance of joining me live on some future lives. So we try to give the chance for people to cross the line onto the show. We're doing it for Illuminati members at the moment. What's this beauty?
And this beauty right here is no longer made, unfortunately. This is a Levenger faceted
Ah,
pen, and I call this my cheap fountain pen person's Divina.
oh, very
And
nice.
I have been lusting over the Divina for the since I first fell in love with it. However, the problem with the Divina is the captured converter. Um,
Oh yeah.
I I really
Conway
have an
Stewart uses a
issue with
lot of
it.
those. It's kind of like the worst of two worlds, right? I mean, the beauty of a converter is if there's something goes wrong, you can swap it out with another one, like I just did for my cross. When it's captive, that makes it a lot difficult. So it's sort of like a pretend piston fill with all the problems kind of baked in.
And this pen has been through everything with me. I got this in 2014, and it has a boo. I'm going to have to refix this. I did a hack job replacing this cap. This
Yeah, it's not so bad.
No, it's not so bad, but I'm going to take it off, clean up the glue that I have a little spillage over.
Sure.
But, other than that, I mean, I haven't been very good at cleaning this out. So
That's not
there's,
easy. And
but
I
it's
guess you
still
have to be
right.
careful with the materials and make sure things don't react badly. I
They,
hate to rush it, Kate, but we're running out of time. So why don't you tell me what your
okay.
third pen is? Time goes fast when you're on the live show. Believe me.
My last pen is my Benu Beam Me Up. And
Very nice.
this pen is full of glitter, and it has a cow being beamed up by a UFO. And it's really a cute pen, and I like cutesy things, so that's the reason why that's my third pen.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Well, how was it? Did you enjoy the show? Was it fun being on?
Yeah, it's great. I really like it.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad to have you here. I appreciate you sent a whole bunch of lovely pens over. I think I told you that one of them I owned for about 10 seconds before my daughter swooped in and grabbed that Jinhao Shark. So I had the experience and then it went. Although it will show up in Cool or Not Cool Volume 2. So you will see
Oh,
it
that's great.
there. I'm sorry?
That's great.
Yes. Yeah, it's super exciting. And the Jinhao 9019. I'm really psyched to do a review of that, and I'm probably going to do it soon, and I'm probably going to just upload it when it's ready rather than my usual schedule because I feel like it's relatively new. It's a good idea to get it out there. It's a super fun pen. It's gigantic. So, okay, well, good stuff. Here we are at the end of another fantastic show. I want to thank Wolf Kate Witch for joining me. You were absolutely amazing. I'm sure everyone appreciated the cool mods you did on your amazing pens. You have one of the largest collections of pens of anybody I know. You're like a pen library. So I appreciate you. I'm glad you're part of the channel. And I appreciate all of you. If you've made it this far in this video and you haven't subscribed, please do. You must like it. You sat through an hour of my discussing various issues around pens. So I'd love to have you along. And I appreciate all of you always being here. We got a new video on Thursday, Kate. Thursday this week. And it's Dark Academia 3. How bad could that be? It's got to be awesome at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. It's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. I promise we will see each other again very soon, further up the road. So take care. Thanks, Kate. Bye-bye.